Hey, what's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you all back to the Boombox Guru channel. I'm your host, LB. So today's album review, this is another one that I'm really excited to talk about. At this point, probably you probably realize now that I'm a huge fan of West Coast hip hop, man. That's what I really been on the kick on lately. So for this album review, man, we're gonna leave LA for a little bit and we're gonna travel up north to Northern California, to the Bay Area to be exact. We're gonna hit the West Bay, and we're gonna go to the city of San Francisco, man. And we're gonna talk about one of my favorite Bay Area hip hop albums, a straight up classic, out of San Francisco, out of the Bay Area hip hop scene, period, man. So we're gonna talk about this album right here, man. 11-5, Fiendin for the Funk. Released in 1995 on Dogday Records. This is the group's debut album. 11-5, Fiendin for the Funk, man. Yeah. And this, I think this is an original pressing. I bought this off of Amazon like years ago, man, well over decades ago, for a very reasonable price. At least considering, at least considering what it goes for today, what I paid for it back then was actually pretty reasonable, man. Cause I've seen this thing go for like, I think I might have seen it for $300 on eBay one time, maybe even higher. But yeah, this is a rare album, very rare album. I feel blessed and I feel fortunate that I was able to get this album when I did, because I would cry if I had to pay the prices that this album goes for now. It's a super rare record. Even in the Bay Area, I think this album is a rarity. I remember reading a comment from somebody. It might have been on Amazon. It might have been on the Amazon page that I bought this from, and they said that, yo, if you come across this album for a reasonable price, snatch it up because it's a rarity even in the Bay Area. I think there's a few pressings of this album. I seen one pressing that had like a red insert, had like a red jewel insert. I seen that pressing. Then there's this pressing that I have, and I think there was a 2004 reissue. But as far as I know, all three of those pressings that I named are all out of print. So yes, yeah, I'm very fortunate to have this album in my possession. 11-5. When I really started digging deep into like Bay Area hip hop, that was around. It was when I was a teenager, man. It was like around 10th grade. This is when I started to dig deep, and I went beyond just the. Most people don't really know much about the Bay Area unless it's E40, Too Short, Digital Underground, Tupac. That's as far as a lot of, I would say, normie hip hop listeners go. But the Bay Area, Northern California, the San Francisco Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland, Richmond, Vallejo, San Jose, and even though Sacramento is not a part of the Bay Area, Sacktown is highly connected to the Bay. A lot of people don't really know about the rich musical history that comes out of that place, or the rich history that comes out of there in general. But for the sake of this video, the hip hop scene, like like the Bay Area hip hop contributed a lot to hip hop music. They were the ones who pioneered the independent hip hop hustle. They were trendsetters. They were innovators, originators. A lot of the 95% of the slang that you hear in hip hop or just in the streets came from the Bay. You know what I'm saying? The fashion sense, the whole swagger, everything. A lot of that came from the Bay. A lot of people went out there and soaked up game, and they took it back home to where they came from and ran with it. And a lot of cats didn't give the Bay credit. So a lot of people don't know that a lot of things that we do, a lot of things that are part of the hip hop culture, that's like normal, a part of hip hop culture came from the Bay Area. But 11-5, this group, man, one of my favorites. I think the first time I ever heard about them was from Master P. Because I think he gave them a shout out in the Ice Cream Man liner notes. I think that was the first time I heard of them, and I think they might have been on the West Coast Bad Boys compilations. I'm not sure. I know that those West Coast Bad Boys compilations, they introduced a lot of people to the Bay Area hip hop scene, especially in the South. So a big shout out to Master P for those compilations, man. But I just remember that there was a website that I used to go on to back when I was in high school. It was called baytolanet. It was a real cool website that somebody put together that had majority of the West Coast rappers, and they had them all characterized by the region, North California, South California, and the cities that they came from. And that's what really helped me to delve further into the Bay Area hip hop scene, because the website seemed to focus a lot more on the Bay Area hip hop scene. So, that's how I really started to dig into a lot of those artists, and 11.5 in particular. And that was back in the day when CD Universe was a real cool site. I used to go on there and listen to like 30-minute samples of a lot of these albums, because I didn't have no money at the time to buy them at that point. And yeah, I remember I would listen to the samples so much by the time I actually got the CD, I was already familiar with the songs to an extent, man. But 11.5 was one of those groups. They were one of those groups that really stood out to me. So the group consists of 3 members: Taydatay, Maine-O, and Hennessy. And they all come from the Hunters Point section of San Francisco. Particularly, they all hail from the Oakdale projects. The Oakdale projects, man. From what I've learned from the research that I've done, man, the Oakdale projects is one of the most notorious projects in San Francisco. I think even to this day, it's still considered to be one of the more dangerous spots in Frisco. But that's where these guys hail from. They hail from that section, man. Along with UDI, Cold World Hustlers. Those are 2 other groups I want to name, because they're 11.5, Cold World Hustlers, and UDI are closely associated with each other. They frequently collaborate with each other on records and everything like that. But yeah, 11.5. The name 11.5 actually is a police code out in California that is used to. It's a police code for heroin, but I think it also applies to other narcotics as well. But on the East Bay in the city of Oakland, in East Oakland in particular, there's a neighborhood, a well-known neighborhood in East Oakland called Serenity Park. I think that's one of the toughest areas in East Oakland, or in Oakland, California in general. But I think back in the 1980s, some big time ballers and OGs from that area, they started calling that area Serenity Park 11.5, in reference to the heavy dope dealing that was going on in that area back then. So when 11.5 dropped, with the name alone, their name alone made them very popular in Oakland. And I also recently I've been watching Dregs One's YouTube channel. He's got a podcast episode called History of the Bay, where he did an episode with TC, which is one of the group's main producers. TC talked about how when 11.5 dropped, they were popping everywhere in the Bay Area except for San Francisco. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were real popular in Oakland because of their name, and other cities. And then, outside of California, like Seattle, Portland, Colorado, Chicago, all those areas, that are Detroit, that are heavy, that are huge fan bases for Bay Area hip hop. They were popping all over those places except for San Francisco, because he said that Oakdale at the time was the most hated hood in San Francisco. And I'm assuming that a lot of that dates back to the San Francisco turf wars that started back in the late 80s, and I think it lasted up until the early 90s. Not quite sure, but that very interesting story that you can all take the time to look up about those SF turf wars. But I'm guessing that all stems from that. But by the time they came back home, their city, San Francisco, really started to embrace them, because I think by that point, all of that beef and the turf wars was dying down, because everybody was coming together. Everybody was coming together at that point. RBL Posse, JT the Bigger Figure, Rappin' Forte, everybody from the different areas, Sunnydale, Fillmore, Lakeview, all those areas. They were all the music was really starting to bring a lot of these people together. Like the hip hop artists were bringing all these people together, because they were starting to come together and they were starting to collaborate with each other. But as far as the 3 members, Taydatay, Maine-O, and Hennessy, they're tight, man. This is why 11.5 is one of my favorites to come out of the Bay Area, man, because of course their subject matter mainly focuses on the street life, the drug game, the pimp game, and the gangster lifestyle and so forth. Street oriented subject matter, man. But one thing I always stuck about 11.5 is that they were lyrical. I mean, man, they spit some really good lyrics, very creative with it, and they all three members possess like they all possess a charisma that just makes you like them. It just makes you like their style. And you know, of course, man, they coming from Frisco, man, they had that rapid fire flow that seems to be a staple amongst a lot of Frisco rappers, where they can like kind of come in kind of slow and then they can like speed things up rapidly with their flows, but they never sacrifice their lyricism. They always keep their lyricism up. But there's also some distinctive characteristics amongst the three members. I mean, I would say Taydatay, which is this gentleman right here. He's the gentleman right here. That's Taydatay. I would say he's like the more laid back, clever one. Kind of more on that smooth tip a little bit. Maine-O, which is the gentleman right here in the middle. Excuse me, let me move my, yeah, the gentleman, right here in the middle. The guy in the middle right there. He's a good rapper as well as a great singer. Like, so when you listen to a lot of 11-5 songs, man, Maine-O, he's gonna come on there and he's gonna be flipping it, switching it up with the with his rapping, but he's also gonna bring in a lot of his singing vocals. He likes to switch it up, and he laces a lot of the hooks and stuff and background vocals on a lot of 11-5 songs. I mean, hey, if you got a member of your group that's as equally good a rapper as a singer, I mean, you're gonna utilize that. You're gonna utilize that. Then the tall one over here at the end, this gentleman right here, Hennessy, man. Hennessy, I would say he's the aggressive one. His style is very aggressive, man. He's got this really cool deep voice that, depending on what type of track they doing, if they doing some of that hurt your body type music, some of that gangster stuff, man, he gonna come hard, man. And his voice just it's very menacing at times, man. Like, it can be scary sometimes, depending on what the track calls for, man. But all three members, man, they have a chemistry that just worked well together. And I actually saw where Maine-O, the gentleman in the middle, I actually saw where he passed away. Like, I might have been 2 years ago. I didn't even know that. But I was watching one of their videos, and it was people in there saying like R.I.P. Maine-O and everything like that. So R.I.P. to Maine-O, R.I.P. to him. I'm late on this, but condolences to all his family and friends who were affected by his passing, man. I was sad to hear that, man, because like I said, I always dug Maine-O's style, man, because how he would flip it. He would alternate between the singing and the rapping, and he had such a great singing voice, and the way he just laced a lot of the hooks on these songs. But yeah, man, one of the best groups out of San Francisco, man. Probably one of the most popular ones too, man. One of the most popular. I mean, when this album dropped, man, it instantly became a classic. In my opinion, I think it was an instant classic. I mean, I know TC said it took him a while to get accepted in Frisco, but everybody else caught on quick, from what I could tell. And I understand why, man. There's just a charisma about these guys that just makes you want to, like, yo, this is so dope. That's just the way it is, man. One of the greatest albums to come out of the Bay Area. In 11-5, they ended up being one of the premier groups in the Bay Area. They appeared on countless Bay Area compilations. I mean, one thing about the Bay Area hip hop scene, they were innovators, and honestly, I think they were originators of the Bay Area of hip hop compilations. Cause like, you can look up the history, man. Matter of fact, you can go to Dreg's One channel. He has an episode of History of the Bay about the Bay Area hip hop compilations. And the Bay Area released a slew of compilations throughout the 90s and I think early 2000s. And 11-5 was one of those groups that were highly sought after. They probably had songs on just about every one of those compilations, man, because they were a top-notch group. They were one of the elite groups to come out of that whole scene. So this album is mainly produced by I think TC or Premier Productions, which is TC, Race, and Reg. And I think I want to say, I don't know if the Enhancer. I don't know if the Enhancer was a part of that. I always thought the Enhancer was a part of that team, but I'm not sure. He may have been his own entity. I'm not sure. I don't even know if the Enhancer even produced for 11-5, but if anybody knows, leave it in the comment section, just for some clarification. But I think the album on the back says produced by TC. but I'm pretty sure that the other members of Premier Productions like Reg and Race were involved as well. But this album's got 13 tracks. It's not too long. It's not too short. It's got that right balance. It's got the right balance. You know what I'm saying? It does what it's supposed to do, man. It's a great record. So you know how I usually do. I usually kind of go through each track and kind of break it down. So we're gonna start with the first track, of course. Track number 1. This is Herm, Peace, Knowledge, and Unity. So this is an intro that is performed by Herm Lewis. Now anybody, people from the Bay Area, y'all know the significance of Herm Lewis, but you know, and as well as people that are fans of Bay Area hip hop. Herm Lewis, he's a community activist, entrepreneur. Man, he was the guy that really kicked off the Bay Area compilations. Honestly, he was the one that really set that off with his first compilation called "Trying to Survive in the Ghetto." But Herm Lewis, man, a community activist out there. He's done a lot. He's done a lot of great work out there in San Francisco. I would say he's one of the main reasons why they help bring the city of San Francisco together. All those projects like Sunnydale and Fillmore, not Fillmore, Fillmo. You know, Hunters Point, Lakeview. I think he was very integral in bringing all these artists and people together. Therefore, bringing those neighborhoods together. But yeah, he's well known for performing a lot of intros on a lot of these San Francisco rap artists' albums, and those intros are just as important as the songs, you know, because he's really given a lot of game, a lot of knowledge. It's backed up by real great music, especially even on here, man. Like the music on here is just beautiful, man. And you know, Herm, he's just dropping a lot of jewels, a lot of gems. Like a lot of what he tells you is very inspiring. Very inspiring. And tell you the truth, man, I ought to make a playlist of all his intros, man, because like the stuff he says is very inspiring, man. So that's, you know, anybody from San Francisco, anybody that's a fan of that, they know about Herm Lewis, man. And I think recently he's had a resurgence in popularity because you know, Larry June. You know, I would say Larry June is probably he's one of the biggest Bay Area artists out right now. I would say he's probably the biggest to come out of Frisco in years. I think Herm Lewis performed some intros on his most recent projects. But then we get to track number 2, which is called 11-5 on the inside. Yeah, this is one of my favorite 11-5 songs. One of my favorites on this album, man. What a dope album opener. You know what I'm saying? This is basically introducing the clique 11-5, man. And I forgot to mention, man, 11-5 made their first appearance on another fellow San Francisco artist's album, a gentleman named Primo. I can't think of the name of the album he dropped, but that was where 11-5 made their first appearance. But anyway, man, 11-5 on the inside, man. What a this track is hard, man. That beat, man, the beat is just so, the beat catches you as soon as you hear it. As soon as that beat kicks in and then that bass line drops, it's already sold. You already sold. And I don't believe I don't think TC produced this one. I think this track was produced by Mr. Lade and Chill Black. Some more producers out of Frisco. They're mainly known for producing for UDI. But yeah, they've given a few tracks to 11-5 that were bangers, man. They got that's another one they did on the A1 Yola album, the group's second album, which I have right here. There's a song on this album that they did that's a killer one. But 11-5 on the inside, bro, man, such a great opening to the album, man. I mean, they go hard. All 3 members just kill it on this record, man. I think my favorite verse on here is Taydatay's. I like Taydatay's. I like the last 2 lines that he spit. I'm gonna do the censor version because I'm not trying to be using a lot of profanity on this channel. But he says, I believe he says, "Watch your mouth, cause I don't give a what. I'm not from the pound, but this nigga comes corrupt." I remember the first time I heard that line, I was like, "Ooh, man, that was tight. That was tight. That was a tight punchline, man." Cause you know, he referencing Corrupt of the Dog Pound and everything, who I just recently did an album review on, so check that out if you haven't. So track number 3, Garcia Vegas. Yeah, man. This was a single, I believe. This was a single. If it wasn't a single, it should have been. But I know Garcia Vegas, Bay Area classic. This is a Bay Area classic. I mean, it's a San Francisco anthem right here. This is a Taydatay solo song too. There's all three members have one solo song on this album. So this is Taydatay's, and it was a smash. This song is a smash, bro. One of 11.5's most popular songs, one of the most well-known songs, man. Just a smash, man. The beat is so killer. You know something? I feel like this song, and this is just me, I'm not from the Bay, but from the outside looking in, man, I feel like this song could have been like a precursor to the hyphy movement. Like the beat, the whole rhythm and everything. To me, it just gives me a little bit of a hyphy kind of vibe. So I feel like this song is kind of like hyphy before hyphy was even a thing. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a precursor to it, man. But Garcia Vegas, if you listen to this song, I know a lot of older people, a lot of the old heads will probably be like, when they hear this song, they be like, hey, this song sounds familiar. That's because the melody that is used on this song is actually an interpolation of The Walk by Morris Day and the Time. So they interpolate that and use that on the song. And I believe Maine-O, it sounds like Maine-O is the one that sings the hook. I assume it's Maine-O, since you got a member of your group that already know how to sing. You ain't gonna pay nobody else to do it. But yeah, I think it's Maine-O that laces the hook on here, man. He does a phenomenal job on that hook. Taydatay, man, he handles the verses. He handles the verses crazily, man. I mean, he does such a wonderful job on them verses, man. He's right in the pocket on the rhythm. I mean, he's spitting some dope rhymes, man. I mean, it's a San Francisco anthem. It's a Bay Area classic. It's a weed anthem too. Cause Garcia Vegas, I don't know if they're even still producing those, but they are blunts. They're cigars. And in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, I think back in those days in the 90s, Garcia Vegas were known. They were very popular amongst weed smokers, because this is before, I guess, blunt rolls and easy rolls. When people wanted to smoke a blunt, you had to split the blunt down the middle and empty out the guts, and then put the weed in and roll it up. So yeah, Garcia Vegas was very popular in the Bay Area, or particularly San Francisco. Maybe it's a Hunters Point thing. I don't know. But yeah, it's an ode to everybody's favorite blunt paper, and it's a weed anthem. But it's a great song. It's a classic, man. Even today, man, I think when people in the Bay hear this song, man, people just lose control, because that's how significant it is. Honestly, Garcia Vegas, I hold it right up there with RBL Posse's "Don't Give Me No Bammer Weed," because it's an anthem. Like when you hear Garcia Vegas, you think about the Bay, you think about Frisco, just like "Don't Give Me No Bammer Weed." All right, so track number 4, Straight Murderism. I mean, that title was pretty self-explanatory, man. This time, all three members, man, they on that gangster tip. They on that hardcore gangster tip right here, man. This song is this is like horrorcore. This is like horrorcore. That's something that's interesting, man. A lot of what they call gangster rap, hardcore hip hop. A lot of artists kind of what's the word I'm trying to think of the word I'm trying to think. A lot of them kind of dabbled in horrorcore a little bit. But that's what this song is. It's pretty hard. It's a hardcore, not too extreme. No, not like Esham or anything like that. But it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard song, man. Like they spitting some straight gangsterism on this track, man. And the beat is so killer, man. The beat is so hard, man. My favorite part of the beat though is like because the beat slaps, man. It's a slapper, man. And like when the snare hits, there's like this wind effect that's on it. That makes the song even more menacing, man. It's a dark track, man, and it's got these dark synths that play in the background that really invoke the subject matter of what they're talking about, because they talking about some hardcore gangsterism on this particular track, man. All right, so track number 5 is Pimp Theme. Again, another self-explanatory title, man. Yeah, on this song, all three members, man, they in full-on pimp mode, and they don't hold back. I mean, they go hard on the pimping on this track. The production though, that's really stand out. I mean, don't get me wrong, the lyrics are good and everything. I dig the lyrics, but the production, I was like going back and listening to this album to prepare for this album review. Yeah, I couldn't place my finger on how to describe the music on this particular track. And finally I came to the conclusion that the song is kind of like a reggae track. It's like reggae. The rhythm is like reggae. And matter of fact, on Taydatay's verse, there's a part where he briefly spits in Jamaican patois. You know what I'm saying? He briefly spits in Jamaican patois. But yeah, the rhythm is reggae. To me, it's like a blending. It's like a merger of like that Bay Area mob sound with reggae. Man, it's got some really cool like funky like guitar licks, and like that the bass line just hits so hard. That live bass on there just hits right. That live bass just really be hitting, man. But yeah, all three members, man, they in full on pimp mode on this song, man, and they not holding back. I also like the harmonies in the background of Pimp Thing. There's these female vocals that harmonize in the background, and it really reminds me of Brides of Funkenstein. Anybody that's familiar with P-Funk, Parliament Funkadelic, you know, Brides of Funkenstein, you know, those ladies, they provided some really good background vocals on those tracks. And that's what the background vocals on here remind me of. It, you know, to tell you the truth, Pimp Thing sounds like a song that you would have heard in a 70s black action film. Like something you would have heard in the Mac or Superfly. That's the kind of vibe it gives me, honestly. But great track, man. Love to ride to that song. Track number 6, Flat on Your Ass. I mean, some of these titles, man, you know, you know what I'm saying, they don't leave no room for mystery on some of these titles, man. But yeah, this is another like hurt your body type track. But here's the thing. You know, the subject matter is hard. But the music that backs it up is not. But it works. And see, I like when groups do that. I like when groups take a particular song that you would think they would like kind of be on more lighter subject matter, but they changed it to something that's hard and it works. You know, kind of like when Mobb Deep did Temperatures Rising. Or no, well, not Temperatures Rising, Up North Trip. That's the song I'm thinking about. When Mobb Deep did Up North Trip on the Infamous. You know what I'm saying? That the production didn't necessarily go with what they were talking about, but it still worked. And that's what this song does, man, because it's a bit of a smooth track, man. I mean, it's got these keys that play in the background that kind of give it a slight jazzy vibe. But man, but all three members, man, Taydatay, Maine-O and Hennessy, man, they spit some hard lyrics about, you know, knocking people down, you know, blasting on people, man. Like, again, straight gangsterism. Again, man, they ain't holding back. But man, it's hard for me to pick a favorite on this song. I don't think I can pick a favorite on this particular track, because everybody comes so hard, and they really display that rapid fire flow, which, like I said earlier in the intro, is a staple amongst a lot of San Francisco artists, particularly the ones that come from the Hunters Point section of Frisco. That seems to be, as well as Lakeview. I think a lot of the Lakeview artists do it too. Well, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's just the San Francisco thing in general, because I've heard Rappin' Forte and Quinn and all of them do it. I think it's a San Francisco thing in general. But that rapid fire flow, they displayed a lot on this particular song. But they do not sacrifice the lyricism. They keep that lyricism intact, which is what's so dope about that song. All right, so track number 7, man, UDCWI of 11.5. Now this is, yeah, man, this is one of the illest posse cuts ever, man. So this is a song that features Cold World Hustlers and Under the Influence. I'm not quite sure who produced this track. I assume TC produced it, because he's actually on the song. He introduces each rapper as they come up to spit their verse. I don't know. I'm not sure, but yeah, one of the dopest posse cuts. One of the dopest posse cuts I've ever heard, man. And anybody that's a fan of 11.5 and Cold World Hustlers, UDI, y'all know that they are tight knit. You know, they're frequent collaborators, especially during this particular period. I think they have a clique. They have a clique called Killaho, which we'll get to that later. But yeah, man, frequent collaborators, man. But one of the dopest collaborations between all three groups right here, man. Again, I can't pick a favorite verse. I can't really pick an MVP of the track of this song, because everybody has great verses, man. Everybody just bring their A game on this one. So I can't really pick a favorite, man. But the beat, the production on this song in particular what I like about it is it sounds so ahead of its time. It doesn't really sound like something that would have been made in '95. Um, and being that this was the '90s, I'm pretty sure most of this album was probably recorded in '94. But this song UDCWI of 11.5, it doesn't sound like something that would have came out in the mid '90s. It actually sounds sort of about 5 or 6 years ahead. It mainly sounds like something you would have heard in the late '90s or early 2000s. So I think the production on here on this particular song is really dope, very standout. Okay, so track number 8, "Fiendin' for the Funk." This is the title track of the album. One of my favorites on here, one of my favorites, and this is another song that I feel, along with Garcia Vegas is a precursor to the hyphy movement, honestly, and that's just the way I see it. So some of you out there may disagree with it, but it's just the beat, that rhythm, that beat, the way that the beat slaps and everything. To me, it just seems very hyphy. Every time I listen to this song, I just imagine people like in Frisco or even Oakland, like just doing side shows, doing donuts in the middle of a busy intersection, or just hopping out and ghost riding the whip. Or dancing up on top of cars. Every time I hear this song, that's what it gives me. It gives me that imagery. So that's why I feel like quite a few songs here were like precursors to hyphy. I feel like 11.5. I feel like their whole style might have been a precursor to that whole movement that would come later on in the 2000s. But yeah, "Fiendin' for the Funk," man, this is one of my favorite tracks. Uh, Man, like I said, I really like the beat. The beat is one of my favorites, man. The way it slaps, the bass, I mean the synthesizer and the keys that's played in the background. Uh, the way Maine-O laces the hook. Maine-O really, he does such a wonderful job on the hook as well as the background vocals. I like his opening verse when he said, "Meow, what's up, J? What's up, you J Cats?" That's how he opens his verse. He said, "Meow, what's up, J Cats?" Cause I think J Cat, that's a slang, that's a Bay Area slang for like a weirdo, like like an odd person, like a weirdo, like somebody that's weird. You know how weird people are. Weird people you don't really want to be around. You want them to get away from you. I think that's what J Cat is. It's a slang term from just like weird, odd acting people. But I like the way he opened that verse on that track, man. Everybody did great on this song lyrically, but I'm gonna say Hennessy is the MVP on this particular song. He does the last verse. I just like the way he came on that verse, man. The way he opened it up. His just the way he approached that track. It was just really cool. I just dug it. It just really stuck out to me. All right, so track number 9, "The Way I Was Raised." This is Maine-O's solo track. I'll be honest with you. Like in the past, I wasn't all that crazy about this song in the past, but now that I'm older, I really like this song, and I really think it's one of the best tracks on here. And I believe it's a fan favorite on this album. I remember back in the day when I would like go on YouTube and watch videos of listen to like audio of the songs because I couldn't afford to buy the CD back then. This was one of the most popular ones from the album. I was found like countless videos or audio that people had uploaded of this particular song. But yeah, man, Maine-O, man, to me this is kind of it's a hard song, but I would say it's more introspective, man, because Maine-O is talking about the way he was raised. He's like expressing why he's the way he is, and it's also kind of like a tribute in many ways to like the neighborhood that he grew up in and the people that he grew up around and with. He's really talking about how his environment and the people that he grew up with, it molded and shaped him into the man that he became. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at this song. And I think my favorite verse from him on here, I think it's the second verse where he like goes into this like timeline of his adolescence, like from like 11, 12, and he like he kind of like briefly touches on these pivotal moments during that time period that really like impacted him and shaped him into who he became. So that's why I really think this is a dope track, man. I really like that, man. Shout out to Maine-O, R.I.P. to him, R.I.P. to Maine-O, man. All right, so yeah, track number 10. That's a skip. Billy Studio Dankster Jam. I think Billy Jam. I think he's a renowned like DJ out there in the Bay, a radio DJ out there in the Bay Area. He pops up on a lot of 11.5's albums. I think he's been on every one of their albums, honestly. providing like skits and stuff. His skits are pretty funny too. Track number 11 is Browsing, and I believe this song was a single too. I know they shot a video for it, an actual music video for it. And actually, I think Browsing might be the only music video 11.5 ever did. Cause if they did do other music videos, they're not up on YouTube. Cause I couldn't find any other music videos outside of Browsing. But yeah, Browsing, man, this is a smooth track, man. It's got a slow tempo that's really cool, that's really groovy, and you know, again, the guys are on a pimp player mode. Not as aggressive like they was on Pimp Thing, cause Pimp Thing, man, they went hard on that. This one is more accessible, man. What I like most about Browsing is that this is a track that can appeal to both the male and female audience, cause they got that player pimp vibe for the fellas, but then they also got that smooth, laid back accessibility for the ladies as well. That's what I like about this track. And remember, accessibility is not always a bad thing. You know, it's not always a bad thing, especially when it's done correctly. And Browsing is one of those instances where it's done correctly. But yeah, cause even the beat, when you listen to the beat, it's like a song that you could dance to in the club as well. It's like a slow hip hop song that, you know, if you got a girl, if you just see a girl out on the floor, you can dance with her. You can like slow grind with her to this track. You know what I'm saying? Or you can, you know, you and your lady might could do something else to the track as well. I won't go into detail about that, but you know, it's just a very accessible track, and I really enjoy it. I see why it was a hit. I see why it was hit and why they had a music video for it as well. Dope track. Track number 12, Hellraiser. Now this is Hennessy's solo track. Now this is another horrorcore track. I think this one is the most horrorcore. This one's even harder than Straight Murderism, honestly, man. Cause man, the beat is so hard, and then they got those synths in the background, those haunting synths. I mean the synths and the keys that are played throughout the song, man. Sound like something Dr. Dre would have did. Sound like something that would have came off of Death Row around this time. Particularly like the Murder Was the Case soundtrack or something, man. But like I said, you know, Hennessy, you know, I described him as being like the aggressive one in the group, like as far as like his approach and so forth. So, and I said that depending on whatever the song calls for, man, he can be pretty menacing, and he does it on this track. Like Hellraiser, I mean, come on, the title like Hellraiser, you know this about to be hard, and that's what he do, man. He come hard, man. Like his whole delivery is just aggressive, man. But he be spitting some hard stuff on this track, man. So it ain't for the faint of heart, man. But it's a dope track, man. I really enjoy it. So now we get to track number 13. Yeah, I couldn't wait to get to this song, man, because 13, man, this is one of my favorite 11.5 songs. I know I say this a lot in a lot of these videos, but man, if I had like a top 10 list of my favorite 11.5 songs, this one is definitely gonna be number one without a doubt. But track number 13, the last song of the album, is called Killer Ho. I mentioned this earlier, right? On when I was talking about track number 7. But this one features Under the Influence and OG Kevy Kev, man. So man, Killer Ho, man. Bro, the beat is just so crazy, man. Like, dude, again, this is another song that I feel like is a precursor to Hyphy. Like the beat, I'm telling you, when you hear that beat, man, when you hear that beat slapping, man, when that beat comes in, it makes you want to do it. It just makes you just want to just forget everything around you and just cut loose and just do your thing. You know what I'm saying? That's just what that beat does. I can only imagine what the clubs and the venues that 11.5 performed live back then were. You know, I can just only imagine what it was like for them to perform this song live back in the 90s, man. I bet when this song Killer Ho came on, I bet you they had the whole venue jumping. They had to, man. They had to. You can't tell me with a song like this and a beat that crazy didn't have everybody in the whole venue just going nuts. Cause it just had that vibe, man. I bet when they did live shows, they had the whole club just rocking. Cause that beat is just crazy, man. It's hard for me to describe. Listen, stop the video and go type in 11.5 Killer Ho. And as soon as that beat come on, you hear that bass line kick, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The rhythm is so sick, man. And everybody on this song, everybody, UDI, OGKV Kev, all the members of 11-5, everybody they just annihilate this beat, man. Again, this is another one of them songs where I cannot pick a favorite verse. I mean, if I was gonna pick a favorite one, I would probably it'll probably be between Dig of UDI and Taydatay. Cause Dig actually opens up the song. He has the first verse on here. And R.I.P. to Dig too. I saw where he had passed away as well. I think I think Mr. Lay was his brother, if I'm not mistaken. So R.I.P. to both of them as well. But yeah, Dig of UDI opens up the song, man. So I would say probably him and Taydatay probably got my two favorite verses, man. But everybody on this track, just everybody on here just snaps, man. They just go off on that song, man. And man, I would repeat the chorus. Repeat the chorus, man. But you know, like I said, man, I'm not trying to have a whole lot of profanity or anything going on my channel. But that let me tell you, so that chorus is very infectious. Might be a bit offensive to some people, but like I think this song in itself is an anthem. Like Killer Ho, I think it's an anthem. I mean it could not be an anthem with that chorus. That chorus is one of those choruses where you like perform it live and and it has crowd participation. That's what I was trying to get at. It's one of those crowd participation type of choruses, man. But such a killer song, and what a great way to end the album. I know a lot of times, man, when I listen to this album, I have to listen to Killer Ho like 4 or 5 times before I move on to something else. That's just how great that song is. And Killer Ho is like the name of their clique. That's like the name of their clique. That you know, their collective or whatever, man. It's like a whole movement. I think it's also what they call their sound as well. But I think IMP, Ill Mannered Posse, I think they was also kind of a part of that as well. And they even released a compilation album called Attack of the Killer Ho. I think not too long after this album, maybe a couple of years later. But yeah, one of my favorite songs on here, man. One of the best songs on here. Maybe the best song on here, and that says a lot because this whole entire album just knocks from start to finish, man. But yes, man, that's it, man. That's 13 tracks, man. I just got through it. I guess it didn't take too long, man. But yes, Fiendin' for the Funk by 11-5. Telling you, man, one of the best Bay Area hip hop albums to ever be released. You know, I'm so glad. I feel so blessed and fortunate that I got this album when I did, because like I said earlier, man, this one's a rare one, and considering what I've seen it go for recently, man, what I paid for it on Amazon back in the day was nothing. That was a steal compared to what I've seen it go for now. And so if you ever come across a physical copy of this album, Fiendin' for the Funk, for a reasonable price, man, don't second guess yourself. Go ahead and purchase it, because this is a great record. It's a part of Bay Area history, West Coast hip hop history. Just a great record. And I think anybody that's not familiar with this group, definitely go check out this album. I think you will enjoy it. It's a great record. It's a great record. It's got everything that you would want out of a mid-90s West Coast hip hop album, but especially coming from the Bay Area. But check this album out. It's on Spotify, so you know, definitely go check it out on Spotify. And yeah, man, that's it, man. Classic Bay Area album. Classic Bay Area. Released on Dogday Records. Oh yeah, before I go, yeah, I want to talk about that. Dogday Records. Dogday Records. They were an independent hip hop label. I think they were actually in Oakland. I think Dogday Records was actually located in Oakland. But yeah, they had a lot of. I think they were one of the biggest independent labels out there in the Bay Area. But I want to talk about is that, for them to be an independent label, they did a real good job as far as like putting money behind the artists' like packaging and production, man. Cause like the packaging on this CD and everything, I mean it's like a major label album. The production sounds like a major label album and all that, man. So they did a really good job at putting money behind their artists' like CDs and stuff like that, man. I mean this is like a major label album, honestly. The way it's put together, it's not cheaply done. You can tell they put a little bit of money behind this. But yeah, man, hope you guys enjoy this. 11-5 Fiendin' for the Funk right here. Also got their also had their second album right here, A1 Yola, released in '96 also on Dogday Records. Uh, who knows, man? You might get an album review of this album. You might get an album review on this one in the near future. This was actually the first 11.5 album that I ever heard right here. And it was the first one that I bought as well. So I've had this one just about as long as this one. About as long as Fiendin for the Phone. Maybe longer. But yes, man. Shout out to 11.5. You know, one of the greatest Bay Area hip hop groups, man. One of my favorites. R.I.P. to Maine-O. Man, I was really sorry to hear that he had passed away. I don't know what the circumstances of his death was. I think somebody said he might have gotten sick or something like that. But yeah, R.I.P. to Maine-O. My condolences and prayers to all his family and friends and so forth. A big shout out to Taydatay, Hennessy, Premier Productions, TC, Reg Race, UDI, Cold World Hustlers, all those cats. Big shout out to everybody, man. A big shout out to the Bay Area. You know what I'm saying? People really need to stop sleeping on the Bay Area. You know, there's more to West Coast hip hop than just Los Angeles. Like the Bay did they thing, they do their thing, and it's more to the Bay than just E42 Short, Tupac, and Digital Underground and MC Hammer. Like there's a whole rich culture of hip hop artists from that scene, man. So definitely go dig into it. Do your research like I did back in the day. And I'm telling you, you're gonna discover a lot of great music and a lot of great artists. So that's it for this album review. Hope you guys out there, well, I hope you ladies and gentlemen out there enjoyed this album review. If you did, if you could do me a huge favor, just hit that thumbs up and give me a like, as well as share this video. Also, be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap that bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop new content. I want to give a huge thank you to everybody that's been supporting the channel. Everybody that's been leaving comments, that's been giving me likes, that's been subscribing to the channel, because my subscribers are steadily growing, I've noticed here recently. So shout out to everybody that's showing their support. And as always, hope everybody has a blessed day, a blessed week, and love, peace, and music. Peace out, y'all.